Hi everybody, my name is Emily. I'm a high school ceramics teacher, and this is my first video, and one of my goals in making these is to give other people a chance to see how I create some basic ceramic items. Another goal is that this can be a video for students if they're absent, or any art teacher or any teacher in general knows that it is an absolute pain to have to redo a lesson or a demonstration 5, 6, 7, 8 times in a row. This way I have a video I can show, and I hope it works. And well, the first thing I'm going to show you guys how to do is just a simple coil pot. I figured I would test this video thing on something I can do pretty simply, and I also know it's the next project I'm doing, so that is great. I hope this works, and I hope you enjoy it. Please don't hate on it too much, and I will talk to you guys later. Thanks. Okay. I'm going to walk you through the basic steps of how to do a coil pot. Now, a coil pot is just made of long, thin strips that look like a snake. So the first thing I did is I rolled out this piece of clay. Now, I don't have a slab roller in my room, so I went ahead and I used thickness strips. I went and got these at Home Depot, and I got 1/2 inch. And then I cut it myself, and then I color-coded them, so you could color-code different sizes or thicknesses. I went ahead and rolled this slab out. It's about 1/4 inch thick. This is going to be the base of your coil pot, so you don't want it to be super thin. So I rolled out my piece. I'm going to go ahead and find something around the room that's circular that I like. Okay, that's a good size. You want to remember everything's going to shrink a tiny bit, so don't make something super, super tiny because it will just turn into nothing. So I have my circular template. I'm going to set it down. For this, I'm going to go ahead and use an X-Acto knife. It just cuts cleaner. Oops. Let me take it off of the cloth. I don't know how many times I've actually cut the cloth before. Oops. Again, I'm going to set it down. And I'm going to cut all the way around in a circular pattern. Now it is best if you're using an X-Acto knife to cut on a surface that's safe to cut on. So I have a bunch right here. I'm going to save all this for my coils. I'm going to wedge it and use it for my coils. So here's my piece. This is my base. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to smooth some of the edges. So much of clay is just patience. You can't expect it to look perfect in 2 seconds. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort. This is a great time to turn your headphones on, to, I don't know, put a movie on, whatever. So I have my base. I smooth some of the edges, smooth front and back. Now you have a nice size base. I'm going to go ahead and grab some of this clay that I had here. I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to roll my first coil. Now, when you roll a coil, you want to start with a nice solid piece, and you're going to go ahead and squeeze it into your hands, kind of like this. Okay? Next, I'm going to hold it on the table, or set it on the table, and I'm going to roll. But when I roll, I'm going to roll all the way from the tip of my fingers all the way down to the bottom of my hand. If I roll too quick, just like this, it's going to create like a square shape, and you don't want that. You want a circular shape. So I'm going to go all the way from the tips of my fingers all the way back to my hand, roll forward and back. Sometimes it helps to use both hands to start in the middle and work your way out. You want your coil to be consistent, so you don't want too many sizes or thickness on one side and thin on the other. Okay, now I have a nice coil. I don't want it to crack, so I'm going to go ahead and put some water on it, just a little bit. One of the biggest problems I see is people use too much water. I'll walk by a desk and I'll see somebody's clay just covered in water and they don't know why it's working. So I'm going to go back and grab my base. I'm going to set it down. I'm going to make the first 2 coils, and I'm going to show you how to do those, because the first two coils is probably the most important part. It's what keeps that base steady, so it is airtight, liquid tight, and will hold something. Okay, so I'm going to take my base. Whenever I'm going to add or attach 2 pieces of clay together, I have to slip and score. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to score along my edges. Now in my classroom, we use this tool to score. We also use a toothbrush, so you can go ahead and score using the toothbrush. Now, since our clay is nice and wet, we don't need to mess around with too much slip. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to slip and score the coil as well. Next, I'm going to set the coil on top of that base, and I'm going to do 1 rotation. You want to do the coil on top of the base. You don't want to put it to the side. That's just asking for trouble. So I have my base and I have my coil, and I just put the first coil on. What I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut this one right here, like so. Take this piece off, and you can take this little piece off here. So you've cut through both. Now you're going to go ahead, and I needed to cut a little bit smaller. There you go. Since you've cut through both at an angle, now you can go ahead and just attach them together and see how they fit perfectly. Perfectly. That's better. Okay, I have my first coil done. What I need to do now is I need to take a blender tool, or I need to take my hand, and I need to go ahead and I need to blend in all the way around on the outside. You do not want to see that seam at all. Again, this is where I see a lot of people try and add water at this point. You don't want to add it yet. You want that nice friction with your finger so you can move the clay around. The minute you add water to it, it just kind of turns into a mud, which is what it is. Okay, now that I did the outside, I can take a little bit of water and smooth it. So since this is my first video, I'm really hoping that I can find a way to get rid of my voice at this point and just put music on so that you don't hear all the sounds of the birds and stuff outside. Okay, there's the outside. I'm going to do the same thing to that inside. I've blended the inside. Now I can go in with a tiny bit of water and smooth that ring. If you don't start with this basic base to your coil pot, you might come up with some problems and issues with cracking at the bottom of your piece. I know that's a big problem we're having right now in my classes. There's a lot of cracking of items just because they don't blend well enough. So now I have my base. Cute little. I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to add another coil, and I'm going to do the same thing, blending outside and blending inside. So now I have my piece. I went ahead and added 2 coils to it, my first and the second, and I blended them all both in, outside and inside, so it looks nice and clean. This is a great base to start with. At this point I want to go ahead and I want to start adding all the coils that I want on the outside to create a vase or a cup or whatever your goal is making. Now, a couple things I want to stress to you. You can use different kinds of coils. So this is just a regular kind of coil. This is about the same as the first and the second one I used. Okay? You can also use super tiny coils. You can alternate between tiny and large coils. You could do braids. So you would do braids on the outside. Now you want to remember, you don't have to blend the outside. It actually looks kind of cool if you don't blend the outside. But you have to blend the inside. You have to. You could do twisties. You could do like little, I don't know what you would call those. Okay. You can also make multiple spirals and do spirals. Then you could fill in with balls. Okay? You want to remember, it's so important that you blend the inside. Everything on the inside needs to be smooth like butter. The outside, that can look kind of cool. That can go crazy with your coils, with your spirals, whatever. But the inside has to stay smooth. Okay? I can't stress to you enough, again, this base is super important that you start with. When you start building up, you will notice, some of you, that you'll start building up and the vase will go this way. So it'll get wide out this way. What's happening is that you're putting coils on, and as you're putting them on, you're putting them a little further out every time. Okay? Whether you know it or not. And that's creating a vase or a cup that's just getting wider and wider and wider. Now that could be your goal. Let's say you want like a belly of a vase. So you're going to go ahead and put these out a little further. If you want to go back in, so you want to make it a little narrower, all you need to do is take, see my lip here? Take the coil and you want to put it in a tiny bit. Okay? Once you do that, the actual line of the pot or the cup is going to kind of narrow in. And that's what you want. At this point, you can go ahead and keep building. I do also go ahead and grab my cloth back at this point just to keep my piece clean so it doesn't get any clay boogers all over it. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you have success making your coil pot. I will come back to you guys for your next video, and it will be about making the rabbit. So go ahead and start your coil pot, and good luck.